There's a term going around right now, and if you were born somewhere between 1965 and 1980, you've probably rolled your eyes at it. Quiet quitting. Millennials and Gen Z talk about it like they just discovered fire. Do the job you're paid for. Nothing more. Stop chasing gold stars nobody's handing out anyway. And somewhere in a garage, or a home office, or a break room, a 40-something is standing there thinking. You say that like it's new, because for Gen X, this isn't a trend. It's not a movement. It's Tuesday. It's been Tuesday since about 1994. See, Gen X learned this lesson early, and we learned it the hard way. We watched our parents give companies 20, 30 years of loyalty, and we watched those same companies hand out pink slips the moment a spreadsheet said to. We came up during downsizing, during restructuring, during the slow, quiet death of the idea that hard work gets noticed, let alone rewarded. So we adjusted. We did what needed doing, we clocked out, and we went home. Not because we were lazy. Because we did the math, and the math never worked out in our favor. So when younger workers discover that showing up and doing your job without setting yourself on fire for a company that wouldn't blink at replacing you is a valid way to live, Gen X isn't inspired by that. We're just quietly nodding. Welcome to the party. We saved you a seat, but honestly, we stopped mingling years ago. Now here's where it gets interesting, because the workplace surveys keep coming out, year after year, and they keep saying the same thing. Gen X is the most burned out generation in the workforce. Not millennials. Not Gen Z. Us. The ones nobody's writing think pieces about. And that's kind of the point, isn't it? Because burnout doesn't look the same on every generation, and Gen X burnout is the quietest kind there is. Millennials tend to burn hot. When the system fails them, they get loud about it. They post, they organize, they name names, they demand somebody fix what's broken. Gen Z takes that even further, using every platform they've got to push for actual structural change, and honestly, good for them. They've got the energy for that fight, and the world probably needs it. Gen X does none of that. There's no public breakdown. No open letter. No viral thread. Gen X just goes quiet. We disengage. We stop raising our hands in meetings. We stop applying for the promotion we know is a trap. We start updating the resume on a random Tuesday night and tell absolutely nobody. And then one day, we're just gone. New job, new city, new chapter, and the people we worked with for years find out through a calendar invite that got declined. That's not passive aggression. That's just how this generation processes being worn down. We don't ask the system to change. We stop expecting it to. And if you want to understand why, you've got to go back to how this generation grew up, because that part explains almost everything. Gen X was the latchkey generation. That term gets thrown around a lot, but sit with what it actually meant. These were kids who let themselves into an empty house after school with a key on a shoelace around their neck, because both parents were working, or there was only one parent, and either way, nobody was home yet. There was no tracking app pinging a parent's phone every time a kid crossed the street. There was no group chat checking in every hour. There was a landline on the wall, and if you didn't pick up, that was just Tuesday too. These kids figured out how to make their own snack, finish their own homework, handle their own scraped knee, and entertain themselves until a car pulled into the driveway. And somewhere in all that unsupervised time, a very specific belief got wired into an entire generation. Nobody's coming. You handle it. Nobody's going to swoop in and rescue you from a bad situation, so you better figure out how to rescue yourself. That belief followed Gen X straight into adulthood, straight into careers, straight into a workforce that turned out to run on exactly the same principle. No system is coming to save you there either. So you adapt. You get pragmatic. You stop waiting for someone else to solve your problems, and you quietly solve them yourself, even if the solution is just leaving. Now layer something else on top of all that, because Gen X isn't just tired from work. They're tired from being squeezed on both ends of their own family. This is the generation stuck in the middle. Aging parents on one side, who need more help than they used to, more visits, more phone calls, more decisions about care and money and time. And on the other side, adult children who, through absolutely no fault of their own, are living at home well into their 20s, because rent alone in a lot of cities eats an entire paycheck before anything else even gets paid. Gen X didn't plan on becoming the support system for two entire generations at once. But housing costs and healthcare costs did the planning for them. So there's this generation, standing right in the middle, holding up one end for their parents and the other end for their kids, while also trying to hold down a job in a workplace that already burned out their sense of loyalty years ago. That's not burnout from one direction. That's pressure from every direction, all at once, for years, with no end date in sight. And that's exactly where this next part comes in, because Gen X did develop a coping mechanism for all of this. It's not therapy speak, and it's not a hashtag. It's something you could just call functional apathy, and honestly, it's kind of brilliant in its simplicity. Think about your phone at 4% battery. You don't try to keep every app running like normal. You don't scroll for an hour and stream a video and run 3 tabs in the background. You shut it all down. You close what you don't need. You dim the screen. You keep just enough power for the 1 or 2 things that actually matter, and you let everything else go dark. That's Gen X, emotionally, most days. Not fixing every broken system around them. Not trying to save every relationship, every workplace, every obligation. Just conserving what's left. Deciding, almost automatically at this point, what actually deserves the energy and what gets quietly muted. It's not defeat. It's rationing. It's a generation that learned, the hard way, that you can't pour from an empty tank, so you stop trying to fill everyone else's tank first. So if there's one piece of advice sitting underneath all of this, it's simple, and Gen X has basically been living it for years already. Drop what you don't have to carry. Let the call go to voicemail. Skip the extra committee, the extra shift, the extra favor that nobody's going to remember by next week anyway. The world keeps spinning whether you overextend yourself or not. It always has. Gen X isn't tired the way people mean when they say tired. Tired implies you're still trying to push through. Gen X is done, and done isn't defeat. Done is a decision. And honestly, this generation made peace with that decision a long, long time ago.